In this month of September, we are delving into historical and cultural topics between Mexico and Ethiopia due to Mexico's Independence Day and Ethiopia's New Year. In the previous video, we discussed the origin of the relations between these two nations, and today marks the first video of two about the cultural coincidences they share. Stay tuned until the end, as the last one will leave a strong impression on you. Let's begin. Tortilla, carbohydrates and proteins. All cultures have a staple food from which they derive a substantial amount of energy and carbohydrates. Typically, they also have another source of protein, often legumes or animal derivatives. Over time, ancient cultures have refined their foods to the point where they serve both as sustenance and utensils. This is the case with Mexico and Ethiopia when it comes to tortillas. Both countries gain significant nutritional benefits from this food item. In Mexico, we call it tortilla, while in Ethiopia, it's known as injera. In Mexico, tortillas are made from corn, which undergoes a process called nixtamalization. During this process, the grain is enriched with minerals by exposure to an alkaline substance, usually quicklime or ashes, and hot water. This technique, dating back thousands of years, is nearly as ancient as the domestication of corn itself. Tortillas are used to hold food items, primarily for making tacos today. This practice exposes us to beneficial microorganisms, acting as probiotics. Our ancestors were wise in recognizing the importance of eating with their hands to maintain good health, as well as enriching their food with essential minerals. On the other hand, in Ethiopia, injera is a type of flatbread made from teff, a small grain belonging to the Aragrostis family, also known as millet. Like corn in Mexico, teff has been domesticated for over 7,000 years. Similar to corn, it is highly nutritious, especially in terms of mineral content. Teff is ground into flour, which is then fermented for a day. This fermentation process enriches injera with essential probiotics for Ethiopian health. The following day, it is cooked like a crepe and is also used as an instrument for holding food, known as gursha, while eating. Lastly, both cultures rely on legumes as their primary source of protein in daily diets. In Mexico, we have a close relationship with beans and consume them in various forms. In Ethiopia, broad beans are used to prepare a stew called shiro, which is somewhat similar in texture to refried beans in Mexico. Lentils and beans are also commonly consumed, though they are not the main dish. Coffee. Coffee is a cherished beverage and an integral part of the culture in both Mexico and Ethiopia. While the coffee varieties and consumption traditions may differ, there are some remarkable cultural coincidences. Both Mexico and Ethiopia are internationally renowned coffee-producing countries. In fact, Ethiopia is the center of origin for this plant. Each country produces unique coffee varieties prized for their distinctive quality and flavor. In Ethiopia, coffee holds a special place in the culture, and traditional coffee ceremonies, known as Ethiopian coffee ceremonies, are a significant social event and a way to welcome guests. In Mexico, while there isn't a formal coffee ceremony comparable to Ethiopia's, coffee is a beverage enjoyed during family and social gatherings. The closest comparison in Mexico might be the traditional role that chocolate played in ancient Mexican cultures, which did involve rituals in the preparation of the beverage. In both countries, there are various coffee preparation methods. In Mexico, it's a tradition to prepare coffee using the café de olla method, among others. In Ethiopia, the most traditional method involves roasting coffee beans and preparing them in a special clay pot called a jabina. Both in Mexico and Ethiopia, coffee is often a beverage enjoyed in the company of friends and family. Gatherings over a cup of coffee are common in both cultures and provide an opportunity for conversation and socialization. Although with their respective differences, coffee serves as a form of collective meditation, a moment where conversations flow, and the mind can relax while sharing knowledge and affection. May 5th. May 5th is celebrated in Mexico as Cinco de Mayo and is a festive date associated with national pride and Mexican resistance against foreign intervention, although it is not a celebration of Mexico's independence, which is commemorated on September 16th. May 5, 1862, is a historical date in Mexico that commemorates the Battle of Puebla. This battle took place in the city of Puebla, Mexico, and pitted Mexican forces, led by General Ignacio Zaragoza, against the French army. The conflict stemmed from French intervention in Mexico during the so-called War of Reform and the ambition of French Emperor Napoleon III to establish an empire in Mexico. Despite being at a disadvantage, Mexican forces achieved a surprising victory over the French. This Mexican victory was a significant morale boost and a symbol of the country's resistance to foreign intervention. May 5, 1941, is a historical date in Ethiopia that marks the country's liberation from Italian occupation during World War II. This date is commemorated as Victory Day in Ethiopia. During the 1930s, Italian dictator Benito Mussolini ordered the invasion of Ethiopia in an attempt to establish a colonial empire in Africa. This invasion is known as the Second Italo-Ethiopian War and began in 1935. Ethiopian forces, under the leadership of Emperor Haile Selassie I, fiercely resisted the Italian invasion, but Ethiopia was eventually occupied by Italian forces in 1936, leading the emperor into exile that same year. The triumphant entry of Emperor Haile Selassie into Addis Ababa on May 5, 1941, marked the end of Italian occupation and the restoration of Ethiopian sovereignty. This event is annually commemorated in Ethiopia as Victory Day and celebrated as a symbol of the Ethiopian people's struggle and determination to preserve their independence and dignity against foreign aggression. Mexico played a significant role in this fascinating historical event, which you can learn more about in our video titled Mexico and Ethiopia, a story of endearing brothers. Metro stations. As we mentioned in our video, Mexico and Ethiopia, a story of endearing brothers. Both countries have a metro station named after the other, which is quite an interesting coincidence. Originally, in Mexico City, the Ethiopia roundabout was erected and inaugurated on June 22, 1954, by Emperor Haile Selassie I. In 1970, with the expansion of the Mexico City metro network, the roundabout was removed, and a station with the same name was built in its place. This station features special decorations and retains a commemorative plaque, as well as some photographs from the historic moment when Kedamawi Haile Selassie visited Mexican lands. On the other hand, Ethiopia also had its counterpart, a roundabout called Mexico. In 2010, the Mexican government donated a replica of the Olmec head as a commemoration of the country's 200 years of independence. This replica was placed in the roundabout. With the rapid economic growth of the city, the construction of a metro network became necessary, and in 2015, the roundabout was removed to make way for an overpass and an upper-level metro station, Estación Mexico. This historical coincidence is a special bond between both countries. These have been the first 4 major coincidences between both nations, 4 out of many more. In the second part, we will continue exploring these 2 giants from different continents. We hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for staying with us until this point. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to watch the second part of this video. Give us a thumbs up, leave your comment, and share this video. As we do every week, it is an honor, a pleasure, and a joy for us to share with you. Thank you very much.